Welcome to New Beginnings Chronicles, the perfect place to explore alternate histories and what-if scenarios. Subscribe to join our journey through history's hidden possibilities. The last thing Donald Trump remembered before darkness consumed him were the blinding lights of the spotlights and the relentless questions of journalists. His world of conferences and political maneuvering had turned every press event into a survival game. Then, he woke up. Opening his eyes, he found himself in a place entirely unfamiliar. The fabric of his clothing felt strange. He glanced upward, noticing a wooden beam hanging overhead. A moment later, the scent of damp straw and aged wood hit his senses. He tried to move, but his body felt sluggish, his limbs weak. Looking around, he caught sight of his reflection in a small metal plate nearby. Staring back at him was a boy of about 15. With messy black hair and piercing green eyes, the reflection looked both frightened and disoriented. "What the hell?" he muttered. But instead of his usual deep voice, a boyish tone escaped his lips as he struggled to sit up. The door burst open, and a man in a worn, old-fashioned robe entered. His stern face and commanding voice left no room for argument. "Drake, daydreaming again. Today's the precision spell exam, and you're lounging around as if your brain's been sucked out by a wraith." Donald froze. Drake, great, I'm someone else now. But his instinct for survival kicked in. Life had taught him to adapt to any situation. He needed to play along. "Yes, sir, I'm on my way," he replied, masking his confusion with confidence. As the man left, Donald quickly surveyed the room. Everything around him, the ancient tomes, strange magical tools, and books with gilded inscriptions suggested he'd landed in a world where magic was real. Magic. Perfect, Donald thought. If this is real, I'll figure out how to master it. If it's a dream, I'll wake up. Either way, I always come out on top. Drake, as Donald still thought of himself, stood and headed to the door. His mind raced. This world has magic, but the principles of success remain the same: control, influence, and strategic manipulation. Stepping into the hallway, he was struck by its grandeur. Towering walls adorned with glowing runes shimmered faintly, and the scent of aged wood mixed with dried herbs lingered in the air. Before long, he reached a set of massive doors with ornate golden handles. "Business waits for no one," he mused, pushing them open. Inside was a grand chamber filled with mystical symbols. At a table sat several figures, all clad in robes like his, though some wore amulets and rings embedded with stones. An older man with a long, white beard barely glanced up from his papers as Donald entered. "You're late, Drake," he said curtly. "Punctuality is not optional for our mages." Donald forced himself to remain calm. Years of experience had taught him not to waste time on excuses. "Apologies, sir," he said, bowing slightly. "An unforeseen delay. But I'm ready now." The older man smirked. "Unforeseen, indeed. You look like a novice who can barely remember the simplest spells." "Oh, I'll handle this," Donald thought. He noticed the skeptical glances exchanged by the others. If there was one thing Donald excelled at, it was turning skepticism into opportunity. The older man continued. "Very well. Show us what you've learned. Levitate this stone using a basic spell." Donald stepped forward, eyeing the stone. Closing his eyes, he visualized the process, treating it like a business challenge, identifying leverage points and executing with precision. The word levitate slipped from his lips, and to his astonishment, the stone began to rise, slowly at first, then higher and higher. The room fell silent. The others stared, dumbfounded. Even the elder mage stood, visibly shaken. "Impossible. You're just a beginner." His voice cracked with disbelief. Suppressing a smirk, Donald maintained his composure. Internally, he celebrated. In this magical world, just as in his own, success meant staying one step ahead. "A simple trick," Donald said, frowning as if unimpressed. "But this is only the beginning. I've just started to understand how this works. Give me time, and I'll master it." The elder mage hesitated before muttering, "We'll see. But beware, ambition can be your greatest enemy." Donald met his gaze with unwavering confidence. In business, as in magic, Ambition is power, he replied. Harness it. And it works for you. That's exactly what I intend to do. The weight of his words hung in the air. As Donald left the chamber, he felt the curious and cautious gazes of those around him. This was just the first step. The path to dominance, whether in the boardroom or a magical academy, was the same. Strategy, influence, and mastery of the rules. Walking through the corridors, his resolve grew stronger. Magic was simply another tool for power. And Donald had always known how to wield tools to his advantage.